If I look tired and as if it's 5 a.m. and I haven't slept, it's only because that's exactly what's happening right now. Today's project is Shamrock Cookies. I've kind of wanted to try this for a while. I don't necessarily bake annually for St. Patrick's Day or something, but I do love a theme. I feel like generally the strategy with baking things for St. Patrick's Day is to make a green thing. Although I did think about making something with like Irish related flavors, because like around this time there's a lot of recipes for Guinness cakes and Bailey's cheesecake and that kind of thing. But I wanted to make a green thing, so here's a green thing. Let's just get into it. So we're gonna do sugar cookie dough, and I've been working on something else for a video. It was meant to be for a video about 2 weeks ago now, which has been giving me pure unadulterated hell. So doing something easy and familiar sounds really good to me right now. If my apron seems like a bit of more of a mess than usual, it's because of the other thing that you will see one day, when and if it works. So to begin, I've got some flour and a pinch of salt in one bowl, and I'm going to add some corn flour into that and whisk them together and set that aside. Then in the bowl of the stand mixer, I'm going to cream together butter and sugar. I have 113 grams of butter, aka one stick, aka half of one of these. So cut one of them in half, you have your butter. And as is generally the case, the butter and the there's one egg, spoiler, are room temperature, so they'll incorporate together better. So room temperature butter. I'm gonna scrape that down, and then I'm gonna put in one egg and like a capful of vanilla. Then I'm going to beat those in as well. It looks gross now, but once the dry ingredients go in, it kind of comes together, so it doesn't really matter. What I think I will do now, before the dry ingredients, is add in my food coloring, because I feel like it will be easier to distribute it evenly if I put it into this rather than after it's dry. And I'm just gonna beat that until it's in and not too much more. My god. Oh, it looks awful. Doesn't matter that it looks awful because it's incomplete dough, who cares? But my god, green is just not an appetizing color for anything that isn't a vegetable or matcha flavored or something. On that note, you could actually definitely flavor this with matcha if you wanted to. Just put like a tablespoon of it into the dry and whisk it in, and it would be matcha cookies, but I don't have any right now, so here we are. Last thing I'm gonna do then is take my dry ingredients and slowly beat them in until this turns into a dough. And as with any dough, probably gonna need to go in with my hands towards the end. Yeah, I'm gonna like take this out of the mixer and just start clumping it together here. Yeah, that is green dough. That's pretty much ready to go, so I'm gonna wrap this up and sit it in the fridge for like 20 minutes to firm back up a bit. And then I'll come back and roll it out. Okay, it's actually been like an hour because I'm very easily distracted, but I have my dough and this is ready to be rolled out now. So I'm gonna roll it out to probably like half a centimeter, I think. I don't know, I'm really bad with units of measurement. Then we're gonna move on to cutting out the actual shamrocks. I don't own a Shamrock cookie cutter. I don't have much desire to own one. I'd use it maybe one day of the year, assuming I decide I'm gonna make Shamrock cookies every St. Patrick's Day, which probably not gonna do. So we're gonna come up with some innovative solutions. One thing, which I think works well not only for this, but for a lot of things, is having heart-shaped cookie cutters. They're easy to find. They have a lot of uses. They're one of the common ones. And you can usually get a set of different sizes. So one little heart isn't just a little heart, it's also a shamrock leaf, and it's also a flower petal, and it's also probably an endless amount of other things. So, you know, think outside the box. And I'm sure there are other ways you can like achieve a similar sort of shamrock leaf shape. You could just print one out, cut around it, or you can just get a shamrock shaped cookie cutter if you want. This time of year, they're probably really easy to get, but I'm just gonna use the little heart, I think. Once you have all of your heart leaves cut out, you can start actually assembling the shamrocks. I found it easier to do this on the actual lined tray rather than doing it on something else and then trying to move it over, because it's kind of tricky to do that. I cut out little stems from the scrap dough and I sort of pushed everything together in the middle, and I used a little bit of water to sort of wet it and then kind of blend it together a little bit more, just to be like absolutely certain that it was all going to stick together and not fall apart when it was baked. I would even take it like a step further and take your heart leaves and brush the sides of those with water just to be absolutely certain that they're gonna stick. Once I had them all, I chilled them for 10 minutes and then I put them in the oven at 175 for 10 to 12 minutes. So they were done, but they hadn't like completely browned or anything. And when they were done, I let them sit on the tray to cool down completely without moving them at all, because they're going to be really soft when they come out, and those stems are just going to want to like fall off because they're kind of fragile when they're still like that. So it's better to just let them harden completely before you touch them. I went around and kind of lifted each one up to make sure that they all held together fine, and thankfully they did. Although if you had something happen like a petal fell off, you could always probably stick it back on with like melted chocolate or icing or something, and it would probably look just fine. Although speaking of icing, my cookies have cooled down, so I can finally move on to the icing, which is pretty much the last thing that needs to be done. So I don't make a lot of royal icing. I'm not really like an icing cookie decorating person for the most part. I've attempted it maybe once or twice, and it was so much effort and so many piping bags that it kind of put me off trying, so I don't do it a lot. I'd like to do it more, so maybe, we'll see. But I'm only going to do 2 colors of icing for this, and I'm only going to do like a water-based icing instead of making proper royal icing with egg whites and whatever meringue powder is. So I just put icing sugar into a bowl and add enough water to it to make it into a sort of paste. And I usually put in a bit of glucose as well, because it kind of gives it a nicer texture. If the icing is too thin, I'll add more icing sugar, and if it's too thick, I'll add more water. And I just try to get it to a point where it's thick enough that I can pipe it, but not so thick that like it'll like burst the piping bag or not come through. Icing is like a whole big world that I don't know a whole awful lot about. So this is just the way I do it that usually works for me when I just want to have like 1 or 2 icing colors in little bits on something, rather than, you know, a whole thing centered around icing. But I will probably take a stab at actual royal icing and fancy, complicated cookie decorating at some point in the future. Either way, I made my icing, and I dyed it 2 colors. I got white and I got orange. So these colors plus green of the cookies, Irish flag, you understand. So I'm just gonna use these 2 and decorate my cookies now. I have an idea for a design, and I'm probably just gonna do that one thing to all of them. So I'm just gonna do that with my evening. It is late, I'm cozy, I'm in my pajamas, I'm tired. Cookie decorating is fun and therapeutic. So I'm gonna have a good time. As someone who doesn't necessarily decorate cookies in this way very often, I was proud with what I turned out. Some of them were definitely better than others, mainly like the later ones were better than the first ones because I kind of got the hang of it and everything, but all of them still looked decent. And obviously they tasted good because they're sugar cookies and they taste like sugar cookies, so they were good. I had no complaints. Thank you for watching this. Happy St. Patrick's Day. I hope you have fun, whether you decide to go out and have a party or stay in and watch Disney Channel original movie Luck of the Irish. I'm probably gonna do both. I will see you when I see you, and until then, goodbye.